A poor girl accidentally texted a billionaire asking for money to buy baby formula, not knowing he was her real father. How many times have you felt something like this? Leave a like and share to touch more hearts. The fluorescent lights of the luxury penthouse reflected off marble floors as 34-year-old Marcus Wellington stood by floor-to-ceiling windows, his phone buzzing insistently. His tailored suit, his perfectly styled dark hair, his entire existence screamed success. But nothing prepared him for the message appearing on his screen at 7:43 that rainy Thursday evening. Please, sir, my mommy is very sick, and we need money for formula. She can't eat food anymore. I'm scared. Can you help us? Lily. Marcus stared at the words, breath catching. The name. That name. His hands trembled as he read it again, mind racing back to a time he'd tried desperately to forget. 6 years ago. A woman he loved. A life he abandoned. This couldn't be real. Across the city, in a cramped apartment where wallpaper peeled and the heater barely worked, 6-year-old Lily sat on threadbare carpet, her mother's old phone clutched in small hands. Her fingers had typed the message carefully, copying each letter from the note her mother whispered before falling into fitful sleep. The little girl didn't understand what formula meant, only that mommy needed it to survive. Her mother, Sarah, lay on the worn couch, face pale and drawn, breathing shallow. At 32, she looked a decade older, ravaged by illness that had stolen her strength month by month. Medical bills piled like mountains around them, each one a reminder of dreams crushed and futures uncertain. Mommy, Lily whispered, crawling closer. I sent the message, just like you said. Her tiny voice carried hope her mother couldn't quite feel anymore. Sarah's eyes flickered open, barely focusing on her daughter's face. Good girl, she managed to whisper. Maybe someone will help us this time. But Sarah didn't know, couldn't know, that the number Lily texted, the one she'd found scribbled on old paper hidden in a drawer, belonged to the one man she'd sworn never to contact again. The father who walked away. The man who didn't even know his daughter existed. Marcus paced his penthouse, the message still glowing on his screen. His assistant, Jennifer, watched him with concern from across the room. Mr. Wellington, is everything all right? You look like you've seen a ghost. I need you to trace this number, Marcus said, his voice tight with emotion he rarely allowed himself to feel. I need to know who sent this message, and I need to know now. Jennifer nodded, immediately pulling out her tablet. Should I ask why, sir? No, Marcus said firmly, turning back to the window. Outside, city lights blurred through rain, and somewhere out there, a little girl waited for an answer. Just find them. As Jennifer worked, Marcus's mind spun with possibilities. Lily. The name echoed through his memories like a haunting melody. Before he left, before everything fell apart, Sarah had mentioned that name once, dreamily, during a conversation about their future. If we ever have a daughter, I'd call her Lily, she'd said, eyes bright with hope. That was 3 months before Marcus received the threatening letters, before his business partner's betrayal, before he made the choice to disappear from Sarah's life to protect her from the darkness that followed him. Or so he told himself. In the small apartment, Lily carefully pulled a thin blanket over her mother's shivering form. The 6-year-old had learned to be careful, to be quiet, to be the caretaker when her mother couldn't be. She'd learned to open cans for dinner, to count the few coins in the jar by the door, to ignore the rumbling in her own stomach because the food needed to last. Lily, baby, Sarah murmured, her hand weakly reaching for her daughter's. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for all of this. It's okay, Mommy, Lily said, her bright blue eyes she'd inherited from a father she'd never met, filling with tears she tried to hide. Someone will help us. I know they will. The phone will beep, and someone nice will answer. Sarah closed her eyes, guilt washing over her in waves. She'd never told Lily about her father, never explained why there was no man in their lives, no strong arms to lift the burden, no second paycheck to ease the struggle. How could she explain that she'd driven him away with her silence? That she'd discovered she was pregnant the same week Marcus vanished, leaving only a brief note that said, I'm sorry, you're better off without me. Forget I existed. But Sarah never forgot, and she never stopped loving him, even as her love turned to resentment, then to desperate longing, and finally to bitter acceptance. Now, dying slowly from a disease she couldn't afford to treat properly, she'd made a choice that terrified her. She'd given Lily that old number, the one she'd kept hidden all these years, praying it might still reach him. Marcus's phone buzzed again. Jennifer had found the address. Sir, the number is registered to a Sarah Mitchell. She lives in the Riverside district. Jennifer paused, her expression growing concerned. Mr. Wellington, that's one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city. The building has multiple code violations. No authorities, Marcus interrupted sharply. Not yet. I need to think. His heart pounded. Sarah Mitchell. After all these years, hearing her name still affected him. And if this child was real, if this little girl was his daughter. The phone buzzed with another message, even more heartbreaking than the first. Sir, I don't know if you'll answer. Mommy says people don't usually help, but I'm really scared. Can you please just send something? Even a little bit? Mommy hasn't eaten in 2 days and I don't know what to do. I'm trying to be brave like she tells me, but I'm only 6, and I don't know how to fix this. Please. Lily. Marcus felt something break inside his chest, something that had been frozen and protected for years. He typed a response, fingers hovering over the send button as years of running collided with a sudden, overwhelming need to stop. Lily, I'm going to help you. Tell me your address. I'm coming tonight. M. He hit send before he could change his mind. Across the city, in that cold apartment, a 6-year-old girl's face lit up with hope as her mother's phone chimed. The drive across the city felt eternal. Marcus watched neighborhoods transform through rain-streaked windows, from gleaming towers to modest homes to, finally, the crumbling buildings of Riverside. Each mile stripped away another layer of the careful life he'd constructed, revealing the raw truth underneath. He was a coward who'd run when things got dangerous. His driver, Thomas, glanced at him in the rearview mirror. Mr. Wellington, are you certain about this location? This isn't exactly a safe area at this hour. I'm certain, Marcus replied, jaw tight. And Thomas, whatever you see tonight, whatever happens, it stays between us. Understood? Of course, sir. The car pulled up in front of a dilapidated brick building with broken security lights and cracked concrete steps. Marcus stepped out into the rain, his expensive shoes immediately soaking through. He looked up at the building, counting windows until he found the one matching the apartment number, 4th floor. Inside the apartment, Sarah struggled to sit up as Lily bounced excitedly beside her. Mommy! Mommy! He said he's coming! Someone is actually coming to help us. Sarah's heart hammered with a mixture of hope and terror. The number she'd given Lily, it had been a desperate gamble, a last resort when the hospital bills became impossible and her condition deteriorated beyond what home care could handle. She'd never expected a response, never imagined he'd actually come. Lily, sweetheart, Sarah said weakly, reaching for her daughter's hand. When this man comes, I need you to be polite, and I need you to understand something. Sometimes people help us because they're kind, and sometimes they help us because they have to. Lily tilted her head, confused. What do you mean, Mommy? Before Sarah could answer, 3 firm knocks echoed through the apartment. Lily raced to the door, her small hands struggling with the chain lock. Wait! Sarah tried to call out, but her voice was too weak. Too late. The door swung open and there he stood, Marcus Wellington, soaked from the rain, his dark hair dripping, his gray eyes wide as they landed first on the little girl in the doorway, then moved past her to the woman on the couch. Time seemed to stop. 6 years collapsed into a single, breathless moment. Lily looked up at the tall stranger, her innocent face breaking into a hopeful smile. Are you the man from the phone? Are you here to help my mommy? Marcus couldn't speak. He stared at the child, at his daughter, though she didn't know it yet, taking in every detail. Her blue eyes, so much like his own, the way she tucked her dark hair behind her ear, a gesture he'd seen in his own reflection 1,000 times, the slight dimple in her left cheek when she smiled. She was unmistakably his, Marcus. Sarah's voice cut through his paralysis. She'd managed to sit up, her skeletal frame wrapped in an old sweater, her face showing every day of struggle since he'd left. But her eyes, those warm brown eyes he'd once loved, still held a spark of the woman he remembered. Now they burned with something else too. Anger, fear, and desperate hope all tangled together. Sarah, he managed, his voice rough. I didn't know. You have to believe me. I didn't know about her. Lily looked between them, sensing something she couldn't quite name. Do you two know each other? The question hung in the air like a loaded gun. Sarah's mouth opened, then closed. How could she explain 6 years of secrets in a way a 6-year-old would understand? How could she tell her daughter that the kind stranger at their door was the father who never knew she existed? We knew each other a long time ago, Sarah finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Before you were born, Lily, we were friends. Marcus stepped inside, closing the door behind him. The apartment was worse than he'd imagined. Peeling paint, furniture that looked salvaged, a draft that cut through despite the closed windows. This was where his daughter had been living. This was what Sarah had endured while he built his empire. Friends, Marcus repeated, the word tasting bitter. He knelt down so he was eye level with Lily, his heart breaking at how small she was, how thin. Your mommy and I were very good friends, and I'm so sorry I haven't been here to help you before now. Lily studied him with those perceptive blue eyes. It's okay. Mommy says sometimes people can't help even when they want to. Are you really rich? Your coat looks really nice. Despite everything, Marcus felt a small smile tug at his lips. I suppose I am. And you know what? I want to help you and your mommy very much. Can you tell me what your mommy needs? Formula, Lily said seriously. The doctor said she needs special formula because her stomach doesn't work right anymore. But it costs a lot of money. Mommy cries sometimes when she thinks I'm asleep because we can't afford it. Marcus felt his throat tighten. He looked up at Sarah, who had tears streaming down her face. How long? He asked quietly. How long have you been sick? 14 months. Sarah answered, her voice breaking. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. They gave me 6 months when they diagnosed me. I've been fighting Marcus. For her. But I'm losing. The words hit him like physical blows. Stage 4. 6 months that had somehow stretched to 14. Sarah was dying, and she'd been doing it alone, with a 6-year-old child depending on her. Why didn't you tell me? Marcus demanded, though he already knew the answer. Why didn't you reach out sooner? Because you left, Sarah said simply, her eyes meeting his with painful honesty. You left without explanation, without a goodbye. Just a note saying I was better off without you. What was I supposed to think, Marcus? That you'd suddenly care about a baby? About me? I would have cared, Marcus said fiercely. I would have come back, if I'd known. But you didn't know, Sarah interrupted, because you never gave me the chance to tell you. You disappeared, Marcus, completely. Changed your number, moved, vanished, like you'd never existed. By the time I found out I was pregnant, you were gone. Lily tugged on Marcus's sleeve, her small voice cutting through their tension. Are you my daddy? The question stopped both adults cold. Sarah's face went pale. Marcus felt the world tilt on its axis. Lily, sweetheart, Sarah began, but Lily kept her eyes locked on Marcus. Mommy showed me a picture once, an old one she keeps in her drawer. You look like him. And Mommy said my daddy had to go away for important reasons. Are you him? Are you my daddy who had to go away? Marcus looked at Sarah, silently asking permission. Sarah closed her eyes, a single tear rolling down her cheek, and nodded. Yes, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. Yes, Lily, I'm your daddy. And I'm so sorry I've been gone. Lily stared at Marcus for a long moment, her 6-year-old mind trying to process this revelation. Then, without warning, she threw her small arms around his neck and burst into tears. I knew it. I knew you'd come back. Mommy said you were busy saving the world or something important, but I knew you'd come when we really needed you. Marcus held his daughter for the first time, feeling her tiny body shake with sobs against his chest. His own tears fell unchecked into her dark hair. All the years of running, of building walls around his heart, of convincing himself he'd done the right thing by leaving. It all crumbled in the face of this small child who'd been waiting for him. Sarah watched them, her emotions a tangle of relief and resentment. Part of her wanted to be angry, to scream at him for all the nights Lily had cried asking about her daddy, for all the times she'd struggled alone. But another part, the part that had never stopped loving him, felt a crushing guilt for keeping them apart. Lily, Sarah said softly, why don't you show your daddy your drawings? The ones you made for if you ever met him? Lily pulled back from Marcus, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. Really? Can I, Mommy? Yes, baby. They're in your room. As Lily raced off to her small bedroom, Marcus stood and faced Sarah. The air between them crackled with 6 years of unspoken words, of pain and regret and questions that had no easy answers. She's been drawing pictures for me? Marcus asked, his voice rough. Since she was 3, Sarah confirmed. Every birthday, every Father's Day, every Christmas. She'd draw pictures of what she imagined you were doing. Saving people, building houses, flying planes. In her mind, you were a hero who had to be away doing important things. Marcus felt his heart shatter. And you let her believe that, even after what I did? What was I supposed to tell her? Sarah demanded, a flash of anger breaking through her exhaustion. That her father abandoned us? That he walked away without looking back? She's 6 years old, Marcus. She needed to believe she was loved, even by someone who wasn't there. So yes, I let her create a fantasy version of you. It was kinder than the truth. The truth, Marcus said bitterly. You want to know the truth, Sarah? I left to protect you. My business partner, Richard Chen, he was involved in something illegal, money laundering, fraud. When I found out and confronted him, he threatened you. He had photos, your address, your schedule. He said if I didn't disappear and keep my mouth shut, he'd make sure you paid for my betrayal. Sarah's eyes widened. What? Marcus, you never told me any of this. Because telling you would have put you in more danger. Marcus ran his hands through his wet hair, frustration and old fear bubbling up. Richard had connections, dangerous people. I thought if I left, if I made it look like we'd meant nothing to each other, he'd leave you alone. I hired private security to watch you for months without you knowing. When nothing happened, when he left you alone, I thought I'd made the right choice. But you didn't leave me alone, Sarah said, her voice breaking. You left me pregnant and terrified and completely on my own. Do you know what it's like to go through pregnancy alone? To give birth with no one to hold your hand? To raise a child with no support because you were too proud to ask for help from your family who never approved of you dating someone beneath your class? Marcus flinched. His family. Old money. Traditional values. Cold as marble. They'd made it clear Sarah wasn't welcome in their world. When he left, he'd cut ties with them too, building his own fortune from the ground up. But Sarah hadn't known that. I didn't go back to my family, Marcus said quietly. I started over completely. Everything I have now, I built myself. And every day, I thought about you. Every day, I wondered if I'd made the right choice. Well, now you know, Sarah said, gesturing weakly at their shabby apartment. You didn't. Before Marcus could respond, Lily returned, clutching a worn folder bulging with papers. She climbed onto the couch next to her mother and patted the space beside her. Come sit, Daddy. I want to show you everything. Marcus sat down, and Lily began pulling out drawing after drawing. Each one showed a stick figure man doing various heroic deeds, rescuing cats from trees, building hospitals, flying to the moon. In every picture, a small stick figure girl waited below, labeled me in shaky letters. This one is from when I was 4, Lily explained seriously, showing him a picture of a stick figure fighting a dragon. Mommy said you were fighting bad guys to keep us safe, and this one is from last year when I turned 6. I drew you as a doctor because Mommy was getting sick, and I thought maybe you were learning how to make her better. Marcus could barely see through his tears. They're beautiful, Lily, every single one. I knew you were real, Lily said, leaning against his side with complete trust. Some kids at school said maybe I made you up, that maybe I didn't have a daddy. But I knew you were real. I could feel it right here. She placed her small hand over her heart. Sarah watched them, a bittersweet smile on her pale face. Whatever anger she felt toward Marcus, she couldn't deny that Lily needed this, needed him. Marcus, Sarah said quietly, we need to talk about what happens next. I don't have much time. The doctor said maybe 3 months, maybe less. I need to know that Lily will be okay when I'm gone. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Marcus tightened his arm around Lily, who had gone very still, her small body tensing. You're not going anywhere, Mommy, Lily said fiercely, her voice rising with panic. The nice man is here now. He can help. He can buy your medicine and make you better. Sweetheart, it's not that simple, Sarah began, but Lily cut her off. Yes, it is. Daddy has money. He can fix everything. Right, Daddy? You can fix Mommy? Marcus looked at Sarah over Lily's head, seeing the resignation in her eyes, the acceptance of an ending she'd made peace with. But he hadn't made peace with it. He'd just found them. He couldn't lose Sarah now, and he couldn't let Lily lose her mother. I'm going to do everything I can, Marcus promised, both to Lily and to Sarah. Tomorrow morning, first thing, we're getting you to the best doctors in the country. Money is no object. If there's any chance, any treatment that might help, we're taking it. Marcus, you don't understand? Sarah tried to protest. No, you don't understand. Marcus interrupted, his voice firm. I lost 6 years with my daughter because I was trying to protect you from a threat that never came. I'm not losing another day. I'm not letting Lily lose her mother without a fight. So tomorrow, we fight. All of us. Together. Lily looked up at him with shining eyes, hope blazing bright despite everything. You mean it? You're really going to save Mommy? Marcus knew he was making a promise he might not be able to keep. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer had a grim prognosis. But looking at his daughter's face, feeling the weight of all the years he'd missed, he couldn't bring himself to extinguish that hope. I'm going to try my hardest, he said honestly. But Lily, you need to understand something. Sometimes, even when we try our very best, things don't work out the way we hope. Your mommy is very sick. The medicine might not work, but I promise you, no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. Because you have me now, and I'm never leaving again. Sarah let out a sob, covering her mouth with her hand. Marcus reached across Lily and took Sarah's hand, their fingers intertwining for the first time in over 6 years. We're going to face this together, Marcus said softly. Whatever comes. I'm here now, Sarah. I'm finally here. As the rain continued to fall outside and the night deepened around them, the three of them sat together on that worn couch. A broken family beginning to heal, a little girl caught between hope and fear, and a man who just discovered that sometimes the biggest mistake isn't running from danger, but running from love. But none of them knew yet that the real revelation was still to come, that Sarah had been keeping a secret even darker than Marcus's disappearance, a truth that would shake everything they thought they understood about loyalty, sacrifice, and the real reason she'd never tried harder to find him. Morning light filtered through the penthouse windows as Marcus made calls to every specialist in the country. Lily sat on the leather sofa, eyes wide as she watched her father command rooms full of doctors through video conferences. Sarah rested in the guest bedroom, already receiving IV fluids from a private nurse Marcus had hired overnight. I don't care what your schedule says. Marcus spoke firmly into his phone. Dr. Harrison, I need you at Mercy General by noon. Yes, I'm aware of your consultation fees. Triple it. Lily tugged his sleeve. Daddy, is Dr. Harrison the best doctor? One of them, sweetheart. Marcus knelt beside her. We're assembling a whole team of the best doctors to help your mommy. By afternoon, Sarah found herself in a private hospital suite that looked more like a luxury hotel. 5 specialists surrounded her bed, reviewing scans and test results. Marcus stood nearby, Lily holding his hand tightly. Dr. Harrison, a renowned oncologist, finally spoke. Mrs. Mitchell, I'll be direct. The cancer has metastasized extensively. Your previous doctors were correct about the prognosis. But you can help her, right? Lily's small voice cut through the clinical atmosphere. My daddy says you're the best. Dr. Harrison's expression softened. We can try an experimental treatment. It's aggressive and the success rate is less than 15%. But it's a chance. Sarah looked at Marcus, then at Lily. What are the side effects? Severe, Dr. Harrison admitted. You'll be very sick, but without it you have weeks, maybe a month. How long would the treatment buy me? Sarah asked quietly. If it works. 6 months to a year, maybe more. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. 6 months to a year with Lily. 6 months to prepare her daughter for a life without her. It wasn't much, but it was more than she had now. Let's do it, she whispered. Marcus squeezed her hand. Whatever you need, it's yours. That evening, as Lily slept in Marcus's penthouse, Sarah and Marcus sat in her hospital room. The silence between them held 6 years of pain. Why did you really leave? Sarah finally asked. The truth, Marcus. All of it. Marcus took a deep breath. Richard Chen wasn't just laundering money. He was working with people who trafficked weapons, drugs. When I discovered the extent of it, he threatened to kill you. He showed me surveillance photos of you, Sarah. At work, at home, at the grocery store. He said one word from me to the authorities, and you'd disappear. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. I went to the FBI, Marcus continued. Made a deal. I'd help them build a case if they'd protect you. But it meant I had to disappear completely. No contact, no trace. They said if Richard suspected I was still connected to you, he'd use you as leverage. The case took 3 years. By the time Richard was finally arrested, I'd built a new life, convinced myself you'd moved on. I was a coward, Sarah. I should have come back, should have at least checked on you. Sarah was silent for a long moment. I have something to tell you too, she said quietly. Something I should have told you 6 years ago. Sarah's hands trembled as she reached for the water glass on her bedside table. Marcus waited, sensing the weight of what she was about to reveal. When you left, Sarah began, her voice barely audible, I was devastated, but there was something I hadn't told you yet. Something I just discovered the week before you disappeared. Marcus leaned forward. What is it? I wasn't just pregnant with Lily, Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. Marcus, I was pregnant with twins. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. What? Sarah, where? I lost him, Sarah interrupted, her voice breaking. A boy. I was 3 months along when you left. The stress, the shock, the complete terror of being alone. I started bleeding. I rushed to the hospital, but they couldn't save him. They saved Lily, but her twin brother died. Marcus felt his legs give out. He sank into the chair beside her bed, his face buried in his hands. No, Sarah. Please tell me this isn't true. His name was going to be James, Sarah continued through her sobs. I'd already picked it out. James Marcus Mitchell. I wanted him to have your name even if you were gone. Why didn't you tell me? Marcus's voice was raw with anguish. Why didn't you find me? I would have come back. FBI protection or not, I would have come back. How? Sarah demanded. You vanished, Marcus. Changed everything. By the time I got out of the hospital, you were gone without a trace. I tried for months to find you. I hired a private investigator with money I didn't have. Nothing. It was like you'd never existed. Marcus stood abruptly, pacing the room. I lost a son. I have a son I never knew about, who died because I wasn't there. His voice rose. Because I made a choice to protect you that ended up destroying us anyway. You think I don't live with that guilt every day? Sarah shot back. You think I don't wonder if things would have been different if you'd stayed? If both our babies would have survived? Does Lily know? Marcus asked suddenly. Does she know she was a twin? Sarah shook her head. I couldn't tell her. How do you explain to a child that she had a brother who died before she was born? That her father's disappearance might have caused it? This isn't your fault, Sarah. Marcus returned to her bedside, taking her hands. Or mine. We were both trying to protect each other in our own broken ways. But no more secrets. No more lies. Whatever time we have left, we face it with the truth. Sarah nodded, exhausted. There's one more thing you need to know. About Richard Chen. Marcus stiffened. What about him? He contacted me, Sarah said quietly. 2 years ago, right after he got out on parole. He came to the diner where I worked. What? Marcus's voice turned dangerous. What did he want? He said he knew about Lily. Said he'd been watching us since his release. He told me that if I ever contacted you, ever tried to find you, he'd make sure Lily paid for your betrayal. Marcus felt rage unlike anything he'd ever experienced. That's why you never tried harder to find me. He threatened our daughter. I was terrified, Sarah admitted. He said he had people watching us, that he'd know if I reached out. So I lived in fear for 2 years, moving apartments, changing jobs, always looking over my shoulder. And then I got sick. The cancer. Sarah nodded. When the doctors told me I had months to live, something in me snapped. I thought, what's the point of being afraid anymore? I'm dying anyway. At least let Lily know her father before I'm gone. So I gave her your old number, praying it might still work, knowing it might bring Richard down on us, but not caring anymore because I was out of time. Marcus pulled out his phone. I'm calling my security team. Round-the-clock protection for both of you. Starting now. Marcus, Richard could be anywhere. I don't care. Marcus's jaw was set. I lost 6 years with my daughter. I lost a son I never knew. I'm not losing anyone else to that man. If he comes near you or Lily, he'll regret it. 3 months passed like a dream and a nightmare intertwined. The experimental treatment hit Sarah hard, but the tumors were shrinking. Dr. Harrison called it remarkable, unprecedented. Marcus barely left the hospital, conducting business from Sarah's room while Lily attended a private school he'd enrolled her in nearby. One afternoon, as autumn leaves fell outside the window, Marcus was reading to Lily when his head of security, James, entered with an urgent expression. Mr. Wellington, we have a situation. Richard Chen was spotted 2 blocks from the hospital. Marcus's blood ran cold. Lily, go sit with Mommy for a minute. Once his daughter was out of earshot, he turned to James. Do we have him? Not yet. But sir, there's something else. We ran a deep background check like you asked. Richard's parole was revoked 6 months ago. He's been wanted for parole violation. 6 months? Marcus frowned. But Sarah said he contacted her 2 years ago. He did, sir. But here's what doesn't add up. According to prison records, Richard Chen died in prison 3 years ago, stabbed in the yard. So whoever Sarah met, whoever threatened her, it wasn't Richard. Marcus finished, his mind racing. Someone wanted us to stay apart. Someone who benefited from me being separated from Sarah. His eyes widened. My father. James nodded grimly. We found financial transactions. Your father paid someone to impersonate Richard Chen and threaten Mrs. Mitchell. He wanted to ensure you never went back to her. Marcus felt sick. His own father had orchestrated everything. The threats, the fear, Sarah's isolation. Where is he now? At his estate. Sir, there's more. Your mother is here at the hospital. She's been asking to see you. Marcus found his mother in the waiting area, Her usually perfect composure cracked. "Mother, did you know what father did?" Eleanor Wellington looked up, tears in her aristocratic eyes. "I found out last week. Marcus, I'm so sorry. I never knew he'd gone that far. When you left that girl, I thought it was your choice. I didn't know about the baby, about what your father had done." "Babies," Marcus corrected coldly. "I had twins. One died because of father's manipulation." Eleanor's face crumpled. "Oh God. Marcus, I know I have no right to ask, but please, let me meet my granddaughter. Let me try to make amends." Marcus wanted to refuse, to turn his back on his family like they'd turned their backs on Sarah. But then he thought of Lily, innocent and loving, who deserved to know all of her family. "One chance," he said finally. "You hurt her. You hurt Sarah. And you'll never see either of them again." That evening, Lily met her grandmother. Eleanor brought gifts, but more importantly, she brought genuine remorse and an eagerness to build a real relationship. As weeks passed, she became a fixture at the hospital, learning to braid Lily's hair and reading her stories while Marcus dealt with his father's crimes. 6 months after treatment began, Dr. Harrison delivered news that made them all cry. "The cancer is in remission. Complete remission. Sarah, I've never seen anything like this." Sarah wept as Marcus held her and Lily squeezed between them. "We beat it," she whispered. "We actually beat it." But their joy was interrupted by James once more. "Sir, your father has agreed to turn himself in, but he wants to speak with you first. He says there's something about the night you left that you need to know." In a cold meeting room, Marcus faced his father for the first time in years. Richard Wellington looked older, defeated. "I was wrong," the elder Wellington said simply. "About Sarah, about everything. But you need to know the truth. The threat against Sarah was real initially. Richard Chen did threaten her. I didn't fabricate that part." Marcus stared. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I let you believe Chen was a bigger threat than he was. The FBI had him under control within months. I could have told you it was safe to return. Instead, I kept up the charade, paid people to maintain the illusion, because I didn't want you with her. You cost me 6 years with my daughter. You cost me my son. I know." Richard's voice broke. "And I'll live with that for the rest of my life. I'm turning myself in for fraud, for conspiracy, for everything. Your mother is divorcing me. I've lost everything. But Marcus, don't let my mistakes poison your future. That little girl in there, she's remarkable. And Sarah, she fought like a warrior for your daughter. Don't waste another moment." 3 weeks later, Marcus and Sarah stood in a small chapel. Lily, in a white flower girl dress, scattered petals as her parents renewed the vows they'd never officially made. Eleanor sat in the front row, crying happy tears. "I thought I'd lost you," Marcus whispered as they exchanged rings. "We lost each other," Sarah corrected, "but we found our way back." "Daddy, Mommy, can I say something?" Lily asked, tugging on Marcus's jacket. "Of course, sweetheart." Lily's small voice carried through the chapel. "I used to draw pictures of my daddy being a hero, but now I know the truth. He's not a hero because he fights bad guys. He's a hero because he came back. Because he never stopped trying to protect us, even when we didn't know it. And Mommy's a hero too, because she never gave up on love." As they embraced, tears flowing freely, Marcus felt the final piece of his broken heart click into place. They'd lost years, lost a child, lost almost everything. But in the end, love had proven stronger than fear, stronger than manipulation, stronger than death itself. That night, as Lily slept between them in their new home, Sarah whispered, "Do you think James is watching over us? Our son?" "I know he is," Marcus replied, "and I think he's glad we finally found each other again." Outside, stars glittered in the clear sky. Inside, a family once shattered had become whole again. Not perfect, not without scars, but together, and that was enough.